I'll start by introducing very briefly our guests, okay? You've got their short bios on the program, and I hope you've had a chance of having a look at them because they're very, very interesting, full of experience and knowledge and wisdom. And so in alphabetical order, Asuman Ashik, okay, she comes from Turkey. She works at Gazi University, where she's an associate professor. That's in Ankara, Turkey. Then Dulce Gonçalves, vice president and founder of Mindfulness Association, which is the Portuguese branch, so to speak, of the Smiling Minds Association, which is, some of you may know, is based in Australia. Marcela Matos is a clinical psychologist, an assistant researcher and lecturer at the Faculty of Psychology and Education Science at the University of Coimbra. And Stania Bozinovic, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is an EFL teacher and teacher training, working at Nikola Filibar Primary School in Velika Gorica, Croatia. And last but not least, that's all, Zeynep Koshali, sorry. She is, I should have your, yeah, it's here, right. She works at the university in at Zeynep. Forgot your details. Sorry, can you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Zeynep Koçali. I work at Kashir Ahevran University in Turkey. I'm a language instructor teaching young adults. I'm also, in addition to being an English teacher, I'm also a researcher working on especially mindfulness integration into foreign language classes.
Thank you very much, Zeynep. Sorry for this.
No problem. You're welcome.
Okay, so we had a prep meeting this week so that we could ascertain who goes first. And we decided that Dulce Gonçalves would go first and speak about her experience as the vice president of Medjugorje, and also on her PhD, which was about an intervention in school at a school using mindfulness for stress reduction. Then we'll have Asuman and Zeynep speaking about the meta-analysis, a study that they underwent on the use of mindfulness in EFL and ESL context. And finally, we'll have Marcela Matos speaking about her research on compassion and her role, and very important one, in the Compassion Coalition, in the Global Compassion Coalition. Right, so we'll go from there, and I don't know whether Dulce Gonçalves is here.
Yes, she's here already.
Yeah, she is. Okay, Dulce.
Good morning, Jose.
Morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, the floor is yours when you want to, the floor, the screen, whatever you want to.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank APPI and Professor José Moura Carvalho for inviting me for this wonderful opportunity to share a little bit of my work. I would also like to greet all my fellow speakers and the audience here with us today. So I've been a teacher for 26 years, more or less now. I currently work with special needs children. I have a PhD in educational psychology, and I'm here to share a little bit of my experience with mindfulness in schools. Just let me share some pictures to illustrate the ideas I'm going to share very quickly. So just for clear understanding, let me say that I will use the word mindfulness as concerning in a secular perspective, concerning a practice of intentionally cultivating awareness moment by moment, non-judgmentally. For me, actually, it all started some years ago in 2015 when I had a few children with special needs, and one in particular, Daniel, which you can see here in the picture. He was a very apparently calm child. He was 15 years old, but he had a cognitive deficit. And he was apparently very calm, but with low emotional self-regulation skills. So that was a problem always in class. He was always very nervous. And so because I was already doing meditation for myself, and I was running into some articles, some papers, talking about the use of meditation in schools, I started training Daniel before we started our work together. I started training him with some short sessions. I would say we are going to start by breathing. And so I would do it with him and some other kids I thought could profit from it. And so we went on training along the year, but what happened was, well, it started to change. All these children, we started to see something different about them. They were beginning to be more attentive. They were able to cope with their difficult situations and to even self-regulate in what concerned emotions. But then suddenly Daniel's father died on Father's Day with a heart attack. And so that was a little bit hard for him. So we went on breathing whenever we were together. And well, 1 month later, his brother died in a motor accident. And that was really, really a hard experience, even for myself that was accompanying him. So we asked for the local hospital to help Daniel. And Daniel himself asked me to start recording some audios of what we were doing in classes. And amazingly, he was able to cope with all these traumatic and stressful events. And when he came back to school, he was telling me, teacher, you should take this to all kids in school. It doesn't get much worse than what happened to me. And so actually it was him who inspired me to design a structured program. First, it was inspired, yes, in Smiling Mind program in Australia, which I was in contact with at that time. But it went on growing and developing. And well, then I gathered a group of teachers and the school psychologists to apply it in a systemically way to all the community, teachers, students, and parents. And we also asked the local hospital to evaluate our work. And later on, we asked for the help of the Portuguese Association for Mindfulness, which helped us develop our work a little bit further, and even the program was improved. So we were actually all overwhelmed by our experience, which made us, because we're seeing so many things advancing in what concerns the school community. And so we actually decided to start a nonprofit association, which was named after the program, Mentes Sorridentes. And so we started spreading the word in our country. Our program actually approaches different contents and different practices, including gratitude practice. So we approach brain and body, body and feelings, body, feelings and thought, and even compassion practices. And we were lucky enough to have some social recognition. So we were able to take our program to, so far, 16 school clusters. We were recognized with a public utility status in 2022 and some other awards, and we were even lucky to share a book about our own experience in the field. So, but because we have been doing research since 2017, we have been trying to find out what are we really doing? What are the benefits of our program? I just wanted to share to final my presentation here. I just wanted to share that one of the most interesting studies we have done was during the pandemic. So he had these two sample of children from second and third cycle pupils, and we organized it face-to-face first before the schools closed, and then online with pre-post evaluation, follow-up, etc. So what we found out in what concerns students' emotional experience in immediate results was that there was an increase in positive emotions and negative emotions reduced, which meant that they were having adaptive responses to stress in such strong conditions that were the fact that they were closed in their homes with their families and far away from school, except for online presence. And we also found out in what concerns medium-term effects that the program has a protective effect in children. It seems to have made a significant contribution to improving a greater psychosocial adjustment and for them to develop adaptive mechanisms and strategies. So they were able to cope with those negative and stressful circumstances with adaptability and resilience. Well, for sure, we think that the program, especially because it's in schools seem to have an important paper here, because they using mindfulness programs that are certified, scientifically certified, they are able to promote adaptive adjustment, minimizing negative results in the presence of adverse conditions, which means that we are able to help our children flourish in spite of all the difficult things they have to deal with their lives. So I don't have much more to say for now. Thank you, Jose. I know we have short time. I hope I did not cross the barrier. Thank you so much.
No, you did not at all. It was very clear and very inspiring as well. Thank you very, very much for this very short and yet very wonderful presentation. We'll go on with Asuman and Zainab, who will, I think, up to you, who will present their study, their research on EFL context using, applying, implementing mindfulness. And I know you're in a chair, so be very attentive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose. And I would like to thank you for this such a great invitation to this event and the chance to become a part of this community, which is amazing. So when we have started together with Zeynep on mindfulness studies, we were not that much, informed that there has been such great communities on mindfulness, and this is amazing to hear that. Yes, I work as a teacher, trainer, and a researcher, but personally, during the pandemic period, like each of us, somehow we tried to find ways to cope with that anxiety, some kind of lockdown problems. And at that period, I have been personally interested in yoga, mindfulness, and meditation practices. And of course, in Turkey, there is a great, potential that we can involve these practices in our curriculum. And when we have observed that, yes, although there are, empirical studies supporting that absolutely mindfulness has lots of benefits on it, we cannot find many opportunities to integrate it in our classrooms. And by the way, Dulce has shared a great experience, and it is really nice to hear that such practices may result in great results in the end. So to save time, I plan to briefly share our research on mindfulness in EFL contexts like Turkey, like Portugal, Spain, or other contexts, and then leave the screen to Zeynep to share her own experiences while designing a mindfulness intervention program for EFL classes. By the way, maybe I should note that especially the implementation of that mindfulness program have been just after the huge devastating earthquakes in Turkey. As you may know, in last year, we have lived huge devastating earthquakes, and there has been a kind of traumatic experiences for each of us in Turkey, not only those parts of Turkey. So that timing was, also unique, I think, for us for implementing that program, which was needed by the young adults as well. So as we all know, mindfulness is paying attention to the present on purpose and non-judgmentally, as Kabat-Zinn described. And also it is like waking up and living in harmony with oneself and the world. So in our classrooms, for the well-being of teachers and students who are sharing the same environment and experiences, we definitely need to encourage and increase awareness on mindfulness practices. And when we have a look at the literature of EFL in terms of mindfulness, we can observe also several affordances and benefits of mindfulness while teaching and learning English. And we have observed in our systematic review that although mindfulness is a very old tradition, the way of coping with, anxiety or other problems in our life, we have observed that there is a very limited research on integrating mindfulness in EFL classrooms. So as teachers, we need to know the students' cognitive affective factors to be mindful, and also we need to experience first, how to be mindful first. Later, we can maybe help and engage our students to be more mindful and to make them become aware of their emotions, intentions, and motivation. And in this systematic review, we have finalized that, especially in the last 5 years, the number of studies focusing on mindfulness in EFL context have increased. And there are some thematic unities or thematic connection with mindfulness in English language teaching. First one was, as you may guess, foreign language anxiety. Because in Turkey, for example, the speaking anxiety is a huge one in EFL language classrooms. And the studies related to mindfulness and its relationship foreign language anxiety have been studied a lot. And it has been found that although there has been a huge speaking or foreign language anxiety, mindfulness practices can decrease and may involve more positive, effective factors into the process. And secondly, language performance and success has been observed after practicing some kind of intervention. And then another theme, which is also very significant for individual and academic, progress, self-efficacy. Self-efficacy means that the one's beliefs about his or her own abilities to fulfill a task. Because in our language classrooms, we observe that students may have some concerns to fulfill the tasks, whether they can be, achieving or completing the task. So it has been observed that mindfulness also can increase and build more self-efficacy among learners. And the other significant themes were learner attitudes, positive attitudes toward mindfulness. And another keyword, as Dulce also has mentioned, resilience to recover from stress. Of course, as human beings, we bring our stress and anxiety into the classrooms, teachers and students, and it is, inevitable that although we're sharing the classroom atmosphere, we are sharing our stress and anxiety together as well. So this kind of mindfulness studies has shown that the resilience also has increased and has potential for language classrooms as well. And to sum up the systematic review and what we have observed after analyzing lots of studies in the field, we had some suggestions. First of all, mindfulness could be integrated into foreign language curriculum in all levels, starting from maybe preschool, young adults, or adults. So we can find short practices to integrate. And mindfulness practice does not have to take a very long time in a classroom because we have a very limited time. For example, in Turkey, we have just 45 minutes for a class, and 5 or 10 minutes can be used for mindfulness integrated plans. And also we can find many ways to integrate mindfulness to our listening activities, speaking activities, some kind of reading activities, which Zeynep will share some of them today. And so that teachers might employ mindfulness for 5 to 10 minutes, even in the beginning of their classes, and then go on maybe to our regular syllabus content. And secondly, school administrations could be initiative in creating a mindful school atmosphere, because it cannot be limited to the the classroom context, but also mindful schools, mindful parents. So they may have a kind of snowball effect, right? Maybe butterfly effect among the society. So, and the teachers could be trained about mindfulness and how to utilize. And we can create lots of mindfulness-based activities and materials, very short, integrated materials. To sum up, we have observed that yes, there are lots of studies on mindfulness and EFL, but we need also to find specific activities for EFL classrooms, which Zeynep will share her experiences. Thank you. Obrigada. So see you soon again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Asma. That was wonderful. Very disciplined, very concrete, very clear, and very inspiring as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So, Zeynep, I'll give you the screen, the floor, whatever.
Thank you. Now it's my turn. Hello again. As my colleague, Dr. Asma Nashik, has mentioned, in my part, I'll talk about some sample activities and some part of the program that we designed. So after the review article, we noticed a gap in the literature. In the studies, we have observed that, yes, there are some mindfulness-based interventions, but most of them, by the way, this is the name which we gave to our program, Mindfulness-Based Interventions for Foreign Language Classes. It is an adapted program inspired by different and various resources in the literature, and also mindfulness-based programs, as far as I can say. So we decided to design a program specifically for EFL classes, because in the studies, in the review article, we observed that in most of the studies, the teachers or the school administration, they apply some standard programs like MBSR. As you can guess, naturally, first the teachers start the journey. They take mindfulness into their lives, so they take some courses. I did as well, and then they want to apply it in their classes, but they may not be. So such standard programs may not be appropriate for EFL classes, because I had the same experience. When I start to apply mindfulness in my classes, some students asked me why we are meditating, why we are studying mindfulness in the English language classroom. So what's the relation? That made me think that we need an adapted program for foreign language classes, because in most of the programs they have focus on formal practices and meditation. That's why many people think that when they hear mindfulness, they think that it's just breath exercise and doing meditation. But we know that mindfulness practices is much more than just breath exercise and meditation. That's why we added some innovations, some new things to our program, like designing language activities, skill-based lessons like listening, speaking lessons, or reading, writing lessons, but integrating mindfulness into these skill lessons. Yeah, we know that it's not just breath, as I said. So there are mindful attitudes like patience, like kindness. We can also integrate these components, these mindful attitudes into our classes. This is what I did in the program. So mainly we focused on three main areas in our program. So I put the activities under these three main areas. First, we started with awareness of sensations. Under this title, of course we first started with mindful breathing, and then body scan, mindful movement, and mindful eating. These were the activities we did in the first 3 weeks of our program. Sorry, I forgot to mention our program was also 8-week, as you observe in many other programs. So the first 3 weeks we studied awareness of sensations. We started with sensations because it's the concrete part. It's the most practical part to define and observe. So we started with awareness of sensations, as I mentioned. Then we continued with awareness of thoughts. Under this focused area, we did 2 activities about the importance of present moment, and also we worked on thoughts. In the following part, I'll give an example about this awareness of thoughts lesson. Finally, we aim to focus on emotions. We put it at the end because emotions, feelings, they are the most difficult part. We have difficulty in defining and explaining our emotions. And something was very surprising for me when I was doing the literature review while designing this program. In mindfulness-based stress reduction program, a book by Bob Stahl and Alicia Goldstein, they are saying that we use in our daily life, we use maximum 20 words for emotions, but in reality we have thousands of words for emotions. So we just have some basic emotions like happy, sad, excited, but there are quite a lot more emotions, but we don't use them, or we don't even know some of them. In this last part, we worked on emotions, and under this title, we did a gratitude activity and a lesson combining sensations and the feeling of gratitude. Finally, in week 7, we studied loving kindness, not just for other people, but also for ourselves. In our program, we were very careful to add at least one formal practice, one formal mindfulness practice, like mindful breathing or body scan, and also one EFL activity. So in my next slide, I'll talk about one sample lesson that we designed in our program. This is a lesson focusing on listening and speaking. As you know, we start with warm-up, and then we have some pre-activities. In this lesson, we watched a video about the story of 2 wolves. Maybe you know the story, but for the ones who don't know the story, I would like to tell the story very shortly. An elder man and a child were having a talk, The child asks, there are two wolves fighting in my head. One wolf is good, positive, happy, and peaceful, but the other wolf is bad, unhappy, stressful. So which one wins the fight? The elderman says, the one you feed. So after reading this story, first I read this story in a book, but then I found a video on YouTube telling this story with animation. I decided to create a lesson with this video. So before watching the video, we did a vocabulary practice, having some vocabulary, new vocabulary for my students, so that they can understand the video better. We did a matching activity, as you can see on the screen. Then we watched the video. After the video, we had some comprehension activities. They are not here, but let me just mention them very shortly. They were like fill in the gap activity and true false activity to make sure that they understand the video, they understand the message. Finally, in the last part of the lesson, we had a speaking session. It is part D and E, as you can see. I asked them to write the thoughts running through their mind at that moment. They wrote their thoughts on the clothes. As you may guess, the students, they mainly write about their exams, the future, some job issues, etc. And after they write their thoughts running through their mind, we discussed which thoughts they would like to feed from now on. And in part E, I got really, really nice reflections from the students because, yeah, some said, I noticed that how my thoughts can affect my mood, can affect my well-being, and also some students said that first time they noticed how their thoughts are so effective in their decision-making process as well. Some students wrote that from now on, I'll feed my positive thoughts. I'm not going to feed, I'm not going to grow my fears, grow my anxiety or stress whatsoever. And I'll also like to add something here in our classes, in our lessons. I also add some quotations about mindfulness. For example, in this lesson, I am not sure whether you can read it, but I can read it for you. You know, we were working on thoughts. That's why I thought that that quotation might be good to summarize this lesson. It's, you know, you're the sky, everything else is just the weather. It's like the weather. We have thoughts, we have millions of thoughts. Our brains work very fast. So we should be very careful observer of our thoughts running through our minds. And I would like to share one more example. This is from our week 3. We did a mindful movement activity with Dr. Asuman Ashik and my students. This was a hybrid class because of the earthquake, as Asuman Ashik had mentioned. Some students were in the classroom with me, and some students were joining online. So together with them, we did a chair yoga, and Dr. Asuman Ashik instructed us. She's a certified yoga teacher. And this is one of students' favorite activities in the program. So I thank you very much. There are lots of details, but because of time limitation, this is all I can share right now. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Zeynep. Really, really interesting. And there aren't very many examples of the implementation of mindfulness in EFL classes all over the world, not just in Europe or anything. So really, really thank you. It was very, very interesting, very useful as well. And I hope our colleagues here find that as well. So thank you. So we'll go on to listening to Marcela Matos. She's full of knowledge and wisdom and experience in both research and in implementing compassion at a global level. I think this will be as well really exciting to listen to. So Marcela, the floor, the screen, everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit about this mission that we have, which is to try and bring a compassion revolution into our schools today. And before I talk to you a little bit about the work that we've been doing on the field, just a few thoughts about what is compassion, because when we think about compassion, usually compassion comes, the word compassion comes infused with a lot of different meanings that come from our rearing, our cultural, societal, religious backgrounds. And in the science of compassion, we have a particular definition of compassion that is stripped from religious connotations. So how do we define compassion? Compassion is defined here as motivation, a human universal pro-social motivation that all humans share, that orients humans to a sensitivity to suffering in ourselves or in others, along with a deep commitment to try and alleviate or prevent this suffering. So compassion, in this sense, involves two key components. On the one hand, our ability to notice suffering in ourselves and in others, rather than ignoring suffering, avoiding suffering, disregarding suffering. So it involves having the courage to face suffering and whenever possible, try to discover its causes and find a way to try to alleviate or prevent this suffering. And importantly, according to this definition and to this field of the science of compassion, compassion has three qualities. Wisdom, so we need to be wise and have the wisdom about how our minds develop, how our brains and minds and bodies are shaped by factors that are beyond our control. A lot of important ideas here that have to do also with our ability to empathize with others. Compassion requires strength and courage to be with suffering and approach it instead of turning away from it. And compassion is about action. So compassion involves commitment and the commitment to act towards the prevention or the alleviation of suffering in ourselves and with others and in others. And also importantly, we must not forget that compassion is not expressed always in the same way. So the way compassion, this motivation for compassion is expressed varies, can take many forms, and it varies depending on the context and on what is required to be compassionate. So compassion may require these qualities of being strong, assertive, being able to say no. Sometimes compassion requires the ability to be diplomatic. Sometimes compassion requires our ability to protect and set limits, or instead to encourage, soothe, calm someone else. So the way this motivation for compassion expresses itself, it depends on the context and on what is required. And this is important. Another important idea is that when we think about compassion, we always think about compassion flowing out. So usually we think about when we direct compassion towards others, but this motivation for compassion can flow in different directions. So according to this science, compassion can flow in different ways. So it can flow towards others, but we can also direct compassion towards ourselves, and we can also be able to receive the care and the support from others. And this is about receiving compassion from others. And as you may easily understand, for most of us, it is very easy to be compassion towards others, but most of us struggle with being self-compassionate or being able to receive care and support from others. And these three flows of compassion can be facilitated or instead inhabited in the contexts where we navigate or where we operate. So schools, for example, can be a context that facilitates these flows of compassion, or instead that may block the expression of these flows. And compassion is a universal human motivation. And this is important to understand, because we need to know this. We need to know that within human beings, we all have the seeds for this motivation for compassion, because this capacity for compassion is rooted on this human universal motivation to care for others and to be cared from others. And we share this motivation with other mammals, for example. And yes, through over this past 20 years, compassion has been emerging as a science, and science of compassion has been showing that compassion is a way of not only healing suffering, reducing psychological and physical distress, but also of promoting flourishing and well-being. And there are numerous books, hundreds of papers that show this, that compassion improves mental health. It improves also our physiology, the way our body regulates stress. It improves the way our capacity to regulate emotions, our ability to connect with others. It increases prosocial behavior. It improves our ability to cope with stress and with difficult life events, and many other indicators. So based on this, and based on the mental health crisis and the multiple challenges that are faced in schools every day, we set up this project about 6 years ago that targeted this aim: developing, implementing, and testing the efficacy of a compassion-focused intervention in schools that targeted teachers, non-teaching staff, parents, and pupils as well. This has been conducted since then in Portugal and the UK, and this is an ongoing project still. So I'm bringing you now some data from this project. And so this is our Portuguese team, but we also have the UK research team, and here an acknowledgement to our funders that have been supporting this project. And also the teachers. So we've now implemented this program with around 300 teachers in Portugal, public school teachers, from 7 schools in 5 cities from the central region of Portugal. This program is currently being disseminated in the north of Portugal, and we also have plans. We are waiting for some funding to know if we will be able to start disseminating this nationwide. And so some data on this. So we did a pilot study trying to see whether this program was feasible and well received by teachers. And so this intervention, before I go there, telling you that this intervention is an 8-week intervention, so 8 sessions, 1 session per week. These are group sessions, 2.5-hour sessions, where teachers come and all together. So we practice a series of exercises, pair exercises, group exercises. We have psychoeducation, a lot of meditation practices as well, where we try to develop a set of competencies all related to the development of this compassionate mind that we share, and this ability to direct compassion towards others, but also towards ourselves. So what we found in a pilot study was that the intervention was indeed feasible and very well received by teachers. Then we expanded this study and we conducted a randomized control trial with a control group and an experimental group. And with this study, what we found was that teachers significantly improved the range of indicators of mental health and well-being. So we found significant increases in compassion. towards others, towards oneself. In those teachers who did the intervention, we found increases in positive affect, feelings of relaxation, safeness. We found improvements in job satisfaction and life satisfaction, feelings of safeness, connection, and vitality in the workplace, and also decreases in burnout, in depression, and stress in teachers. And also, teachers reported feeling less threatened and more safe in their at their workplace. And very importantly, after this intervention was finished, we found that these improvements were maintained at a 3-month follow-up. So 3 months after the intervention ended and we had no contact with the teachers, all of these improvements were kept. So we also assessed a physiological indicator of well-being, which is called heart rate variability. And we also found an improvement in this physiological indicator of emotional regulation, our ability to feel interpersonal safeness and intrapersonal safeness. And it is associated with this cardiac marker. It is associated with also metacognitive awareness, emotional regulation, and our abilities to empathize with others. We also conducted this in the UK, as I was telling you, and we also found that, so not only in Portugal, but cross-culturally, this intervention is effective and well received by teachers in cross-cultural settings. And this is just a teaser. So in Portugal, we are still conducting the study with the pupils, which was suspending during the pandemic, but we are publishing. This is the proofs that were out this week. Our study with the pupils, and we in the UK we found that this intervention with the kids, it improves their pro-social behaviors, but also it protected them from a deterioration against difficulties in mental health or mental health problems. So currently we've been conducting this work, and we expanded this work with new funding from the BL Foundation, and we are now exploring the impact of this compassion-focused intervention in teachers, but on a range of neuroendocrine, autonomic, immunological biomarkers, and also epigenetic mechanisms of stress and of prosociality. And so we've started this, and we already have some preliminary data from the first cohort of 36 teachers. And basically what we found was the same findings with the randomized controlled trial. So these sustained improvements in mental health, psychological and professional well-being in teachers that were maintained in follow-up. But we also have some data on the impact of this compassion-focused intervention on immunological markers and gene expression. And we found that the intervention has an impact on some genes, on the expression of some genes of a genetic signature that we all have, that is called the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, which is a set of genes that are related to how our bodies respond to inflammation, to stress, to infections, to viruses. So we found that the intervention had an impact on some of these genes. So we had significant changes here on these genes, and also on markers of the immune system response, such as the natural killer cells. These are just preliminary data that we are still working on, and we are now collecting a control group to expand and to have more robust data regarding this. So cultivating compassion in schools can promote, in this case, teachers' well-being and flourishing, reduce psychological distress and mental health difficulties, and have beneficial effects also on teachers' physical health, improving autonomic physiological regulation, immune function, and impacting gene expression. So I believe that we need a compassion revolution in schools. Given these transformative benefits of compassion, we know that compassion can be an antidote to the problems that we face in our world, but also in our schools, and it can help us and offer pathways to build the world that we all seek to build. So I leave you with this question, which is, because I believe that compassion is our human superpower. So I believe that compassion was not only central to our evolution and survival as a species, and that the seeds of compassion exist on all of us, and all of us can train and cultivate our compassionate mind, and we can learn to be more sensitive to suffering in ourselves and with others, and find the strength, the courage, the wisdom, and the commitment to do something about this. So how can you, in your own lives, at your schools, harness this human superpower of compassion and put in march this compassion revolution to transform your inner and the lives around you? Thank you very much.
Marcela, thank you very, very, very much for such a wonderful, wonderful presentation. It really was something else. Compassion and self-compassion are, of course, very linked to mindfulness, and it's a component, an internal component of it. But it's always good to listen to you speaking about this, because you're so passionate about it, and that comes across to those who listen to you. So thank you very, very much. It was really wonderful. Thank you. Now, I think we've got 15 minutes, which could be used for the audience to put forward their questions. So I open a Q&A period here. I don't know whether any of you, Asuman, Dulce, Marcela, Zeynep, want to add anything else before we start getting any questions. If you do, please come forward. For example, in 2 minutes, could you say where you think this is going? I mean, where this mindfulness and compassion, these programs and these interventions might lead us. I hope to a better world. I hope to a better school, of course. I hope for better human beings, but would you like to add anything else?
I believe that scientifically tested programs can change the entire school climate. And in what concerns teachers, it might help us coping with our situation in our teaching profession. So that's part of the way I see going through with compassion and with mindfulness practices. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dul.
Yeah, I also believe that related to mindfulness and compassion and self-compassion, because yeah, these are very somehow ignored, or we do not realize. And in the future, or while we're realizing our well-being as teachers, as individuals, as human beings, it will have a great, huge impact on others as well. So luckily, we are starting to be aware of these positive psychology, or how to integrate it. So luckily, we are becoming more and more aware every day. And this is something great to realize. Thank you, Marcelo and Dulce, for sharing your experiences. I was also amazed to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Asuman. Anyone else?
Thank you. I'll just like also to say thank you to the other panelists. It was a wonder to listen to you and learn from you. And also to in regard to Jose question, and heading to what you already said that I agree fully with. I would say that 2 things. One is that it is good to witness that in our schools today and in the society more and more, there has been this awareness that is growing that we need to cultivate competencies that are not taught in the academic curricula, and that school, the school context is a privileged stage to do that. And I think we have that responsibility towards our children, towards our youngsters, but also towards those who take care of them every day and who teach them every day. So I think this is crucial, and it's I'm always very happy to see that this is happening around the world and that schools are waking up and more and more to this need. Now we need other level institutions and organizations and the governmental institutions in particular to wake up to this problem. And also my other comment would be to the importance of, when implementing these evidence-based interventions, trying to involve the whole school. So it is wonderful to do work with teachers, wonderful to do work with pupils, but we all know that these interventions can only be sustained through time when the teams leave the schools, when we have an intervention that's targeted not only teachers, but in a way also the pupils, the parents, and the even an administrative level, because if we want to change the culture and the ethos within the schools from a competitive, individualistic focus to a cooperative, pro-social, compassionate, peaceful, inclusive one, we need to involve the whole system. And so this is the dream I am and will continue to work towards, and I hope others continue to work towards, like you here. And yes, so those are my words.
Thank you very much. You have a dream, and your dream is ours as well. So thank you. Zainab, would you like to add anything?
I also thank the other panelists and the speakers. The presentations were amazing. And I was so happy to see examples that teachers are practicing and employing mindfulness in their classes. This is very important to me because one of the biggest challenge I encountered when I first studied mindfulness, to explain the reason why I'm studying mindfulness, because many people question me about, you're not a psychologist, you do not study psychology, you're an English language teacher, what are you doing with mindfulness? So that's why all these programs and studies are so meaningful, because it shows examples, it shows evidence that we need mindfulness. In the very beginning, it was so meaningful to me because we work with people, with human beings. They have fears, they have stress, anxiety, emotions. So I can see the connection very clearly. We cannot deny psychology in our classes. In recent years, we are talking about individual differences, affective factors. That's why it seems very natural and a must to study emotions, to study psychological concepts like mindfulness in our classes and research project as well. That's why I cannot fully express how happy and grateful to be here with such like-minded people. Thank you so much one more time.
Thank you, Zeynep.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you very much. Well, we've got 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go. There is a question here, which is, how can these programs be implemented in more schools? Anyone?
I can go. In Mentes Sorridentes, we give training to teachers, but inside the communities. So we don't work separated, just doing courses for all the society. No, we go to a specific school and we train the teachers and even the technicians, whoever wants to come and meet us. And then the program is spread in, I'm not sure the word is cascade, you know, teachers then spread the word, implementate the program to all the other parts of the community, the parents, the teachers, the other teachers, the students, the technicians, the assistants that work, all the professionals that work in school, they can deal with that. So for us, I can put the email Mentes Sorridentes here to share with you. And this is the way to do it for us. Thank you.
I find that fascinating that it's not just the teachers, but the community, the whole school community.
Yeah, that's a wonderful expression of being mindful and compassionate, I would say. Anyone else?
Maybe I can say a few words. Yeah, we can integrate bottom-up and top-down approaches. So bottom-up means, yes, we can start with a group of teachers who are integrating, so it can have an effect for others, but also for top-down approach, like, for example, in our case in Turkey, Ministry of Education provide that lots of continuous professional development courses. So I'm sure those in-service trainings integrating on these concepts would be also nice, because only focusing on bottom-up or relying on individual teachers may not be enough. So we need decision makers, policymakers, so that we need to integrate them into the process. We need to convince them how it has kind of meaningful interpretations in our schools. So we can integrate both approach, I believe. Individual teachers, spreading the word, and also decision makers should be involved, I think.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I quite agree with you. It should be more global, right? And have a kind of government-based and state-based basis as well. And of course, help and support. Yeah, I quite agree. Right. Sonia, you're going to...
For the break, but before that, I'd just like to thank you so much to all the panelists for sharing their work experience, both in Portugal and in Turkey. And you shared also evidence of that this practice and these projects will have or are having an impact on the well-being of teachers and children. So for that, thank you so much, and I praise you for that. And as Marcela said, yes, we have a dream, and our dream is to have a more compassionate world. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I hope this is just a short stop in our travel together on the way to more compassionate and mindful societies in our countries. And so thank you very much, all over the world, of course. Thank you very, very much for being here with us and sharing such wonderful thoughts and experiences and projects. Thank you very much. Thank you.